The decision by a Tennessee school district to remove Art Spiegelman's classic Holocaust graphic novel, Mouse, from its 8th grade curriculum was small-minded but not anti-Semitic, argued Margaret Rank, a New York Times writer who focuses on Southern culture. Instead, she said the issue was, quote, conservative parents doing what they have always done, trying desperately to insulate their children from the modern world, end quote. Understood in this way, removing books like Mouse, Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye, Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird may not necessarily be examples of anti-Semitism or racism, but rather just parental overprotection, perhaps gone too far. However, systematically insulating children from material that makes them, really more likely their parents, uncomfortable is often actually a form of racism or anti-Semitism. For Jewish families, there is no choice as to whether or not children should be made aware of the horrors of the Holocaust and its impact on their lives. It's simply their reality. For Black families, there is no choice as to whether or not children should be made aware of slavery and its legacy. It's simply their reality, their family story. By eliminating books that describe these difficult experiences, school districts are claiming that the Black and Jewish narratives, that Black and Jewish families are corrupting influences on their children, that their children represent the American default. They're the public, served by public schools or public libraries to the exclusion of those with more complicated backgrounds. But on the other hand, the districts and communities that do the more difficult work of exposing students to each other through literature or diverse curricula encourage their students to realize that each of their stories is equally part of the collective American experience, of which nobody can legitimately claim to be the default. More powerfully, they are teaching that by learning about each other, they can develop the empathy and understanding that bring them even closer together. This Shabbat's Torah portion, Parashat Tetzaveh, describes the sacred vestments with which the high priest would officiate in the tabernacle. Among them are the ephod, the apron, and the choshen, the breastplate. The ephod featured 2 precious stones that were worn on the shoulders, upon which the names of the 12 tribes were etched, 6 per stone. The choshen featured 12 precious stones arranged over the high priest's heart, each etched with the name of one of the tribes. The question is obvious. Why are both sets of stones necessary? According to Rabbi Dov Linzer, president of New York's Yeshivat Chovevei Torah, these 2 sets of stones remind the high priest that if he wants to carry the people in his heart, he must at the same time bear their burdens on his shoulders. By shouldering their weight, the high priest has the ability to represent the 12 tribes together in the presence of God. So striking Art Spiegelman or Toni Morrison, as unsettling as they may be from curricula, may not necessarily be expressions of anti-Semitic or anti-Black hate. However, they would still be racist or anti-Semitic because they imply that their stories, the experiences they reflect, are add-ons to a core default American history and experience. In contrast, the high priest challenges us to remember that only by collectively shouldering each other's burdens can we enter united into God's presence. Shabbat Shalom.